Star jelly is a peculiar gelatinous substance occasionally found on grass or tree branches. According to folklore, it's deposited on Earth during meteor showers, described as translucent or grayish-white and quickly evaporating. Theories about its origin range from remains of frogs, toads, or worms to byproducts of cyanobacteria, fungi, or slime molds. Non-biological explanations include industrial waste or byproducts. Reports of star jelly date back to the 14th century, with various names like Stella Terrae, Uligo, and P.W. Dreiser. In some cases, it's believed to be regurgitated amphibian oviducts consumed by predators. Scientific analysis has failed to find DNA in some samples, while others link it to frog spawn or specific slime molds and fungi. Notable incidents include a 4-foot luminous jelly in Lowville, New York in 1846, and purple blobs in Frisco, Texas following a meteor shower in 1979. Though often associated with meteors, many occurrences have mundane explanations like industrial runoff or superabsorbent polymers. The Stargate Project was a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1978 to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and intelligence applications. The project primarily focused on remote viewing, the claimed psychic ability to perceive distant events, sights, or information. Despite some reported successes, like locating a lost Soviet spy plane in 1976, the project was met with skepticism from the wider scientific community. The CIA eventually commissioned an external report that found remote viewing had never provided actionable intelligence data and had no useful military applications. As a result, the CIA terminated and declassified the Stargate Project in 1995, after nearly 20 years of research. Critics argued the project suffered from flawed methodology, lacked sufficient controls, and independent replication, and ultimately failed to prove the existence of psychic phenomena. Some of the key figures involved in the program, like physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, claimed the experiments produced successful results, including accurately detecting distant targets. However, skeptics countered that the few apparent successes were better explained by guesswork, sensory cues, and subjective validation, rather than psychic abilities. Despite its ultimate failure, the Stargate Project remains a fascinating chapter in the history of the U.S. military's exploration of the paranormal. Starlite is an incredible material invented by Maurice Ward, a British hairdresser and amateur chemist, that can withstand extreme heat.
It's called Starlite Polymer, and it has the world scientific community abuzz. What it is a plastic its inventor claims can withstand the heat of a nuclear explosion. Those tests were a little difficult to replicate in Maurice Ward's cluttered garage, but the principle checks out. When treated, this piece of honeycombed Kevlar becomes a fire barrier. The temperature of the torch is about 1200 degrees Celsius.
Starlights actually contain 10,000 degrees centigrade, rather like sitting with your bum on the surface of the sun.
In demonstrations, an egg coated in starlight remained raw and cool to the touch, even after being blasted by a blowtorch for minutes. When exposed to intense heat, starlight forms an expanding carbon foam that provides remarkable thermal resistance, even standing up to plasma torches and high-powered lasers. The exact composition of starlight remains a closely guarded secret, but it's known to contain a mix of organic polymers, copolymers, borates, ceramics, and other ingredients, with the formula being mostly organic despite its heat-defying properties. Although Ward allowed some organizations to test starlight, he never let them keep samples for fear of reverse engineering, believing his invention was worth billions. NASA and Boeing expressed interest in starlight's potential for heat shields and eliminating flammable materials in jets, but Ward passed away in 2011 without fully commercializing the technology. The American company ThermoShield claims to have acquired the rights to Starlight in 2013 and replicated it, with their version passing various heat resistance tests. Some enthusiasts have attempted to create their own Starlight-like materials using ingredients like cornstarch, baking soda, glue, flour, sugar, and borax, achieving impressive results in withstanding lasers, thermite, and blowtorches. However, the homemade formulas have limitations compared to the original Starlite, and the exact recipe that gives Starlite its remarkable properties remains elusive. Steve Irwin, known as the Crocodile Hunter, died in a haunting and unexplored incident while filming the documentary Ocean's Deadliest in the Great Barrier Reef on September 4, 2006. Irwin was fatally attacked by a stingray, with the entire incident, including the aftermath, captured on camera as per his directive to continue filming even in dangerous situations. Eyewitnesses reported that the stingray struck Irwin multiple times in the chest, puncturing his heart, and his colleagues quickly pulled him onto the research yacht Croc 1, attempting to rush to shore while he bled profusely. Despite an hour-long journey to land and CPR performed by a crew member, Irwin was pronounced dead by paramedics upon arrival, with his reported last words being, "I'm dying." The recorded footage was handed over to authorities and later returned to Irwin's family, who are believed to have destroyed it. Justin Lyons, the cameraman who witnessed the attack, expressed hope that the footage would never be released out of respect for the family, and mentioned that he no longer possesses the recordings, suspecting no copies remain. In the years following the tragedy, various alleged videos and screenshots have surfaced online, claiming to depict the incident, but their authenticity has never been verified, and they are generally regarded as fabricated or taken out of context. The disappearance of the footage and the speculation surrounding its existence add to the overall creepiness and intrigue of this tragic event. In ancient China, builders developed a remarkable material known as sticky rice mortar. Unlike typical mortar, which used hydraulic properties for binding, sticky rice mortar combined organic sticky rice soup with inorganic lime to create a potent adhesive. This innovative mortar, dating back to around 500 CE, boasted superior strength and waterproofing capabilities compared to traditional lime mortar. It became indispensable in constructing various structures like the Great Wall, tombs, pagodas, and city walls. Sticky rice mortar's adhesive strength and durability were remarkable. It not only resisted water, but also prevented weed growth between bricks. The combination of sticky rice and burnt lime formed a seal between bricks that rivaled modern cement. During the Ming Dynasty, advancements in brick-making techniques further enhanced the resilience of structures. Great wall segments reinforced with sticky rice mortar could withstand earthquakes and modern machinery like bulldozers, retaining their structural integrity. Modern research has revealed that amylopectin, a complex carbohydrate found in rice, played a crucial role in enhancing the strength and durability of sticky rice mortar. In Catholicism, stigmata refers to bodily wounds, scars, and pain that appear in locations corresponding to the crucifixion wounds of Jesus Christ, such as the hands, wrists, feet, side, head, and back. Saint Francis of Assisi is widely considered the first recorded stigmatic, though earlier reports like that of Saint Ansbert of Rouen do exist. For over 50 years, Saint Padre Pio of Pietrelcina reported stigmata, which were studied by several 20th century physicians, with observations reportedly being inexplicable and the wounds never becoming infected. Stigmatics are primarily a Roman Catholic phenomenon, with the Eastern Orthodox Church professing no official view on them. A high percentage of stigmatics, probably over 80%, are women. Many stigmata show recurring bleeding that stops and starts, often after receiving Holy Communion, and some stigmatics claim to live with minimal food or water, except for the Holy Eucharist. The blood from the wounds is said, in some cases, to have a pleasant, perfumed odor known as the odor of sanctity. Christian theologian Ivan Illich suggests that stigmata result from exceptional poignancy of religious faith and a desire to associate oneself with the suffering Messiah. Many cases of stigmata have been exposed as trickery, while some modern research indicates they may be of hysterical origin or linked to dissociative identity disorders. There is also a link between self-starvation, dissociative mental states, and self-mutilation in the context of religious belief, similar to ritualistic behaviors in anorexia nervosa cases. Skeptical investigator Joe Nickell, who investigated recent cases, commented that they are indistinguishable from hoaxing. A psychoanalytic study suggested that stigmata could result from post-traumatic stress symptoms expressed in unconscious self-mutilation through abnormal autosuggestibility. Non-Christian instances of stigmata-like phenomena have been reported in Buddhist art and among the Warao people of the Orinoco Delta. Some spiritualist mediums have also allegedly produced stigmata during seances, though these cases are often considered fraudulent. Approximately 800 stone-built chambers are scattered across the New England states, featuring a design and form found nowhere else in North America. These chambers are generally circular or rectangular, ranging from 15 to 30 feet long, 10 feet wide, and with a 10-foot tall central chamber, with the most elaborate structures being conical beehive chambers. The chambers are expertly constructed with fitted masonry stone and capped with megalithic slabs, often surrounded by cairns, standing stones, enclosures, ceremonial walls, pedestal boulders, and balanced rocks. Though many historians and archaeologists believe these structures were built by early colonists as root cellars or by Native Americans, others argue that some chambers are ancient, possibly built by European travelers during the Bronze Age. Professor Barry Fell from Harvard University claimed to have identified inscriptions in an early form of Ogham script dating from 1000 BC to 300 BC, carved by Celts from the Iberian Peninsula. Fell believed the chambers were built by Celts who welcomed Phoenician mariners and were used as temples by Druid priests, citing evidence such as stone circles, carved deities, symbolic markings, Celtic place names, and chamber features aligned with solar solstices and equinoxes. However, Fell's theories are not well respected by archaeologists, leading to a debate between those who support a historic origin and those who believe in an ancient origin. Supporters of the ancient origin theory point out that early colonial records mention stone chambers pre-existing before settlement and the existence of strange Indian forts. They also argue that the complexity and craftsmanship of the chambers seem excessive for simple root cellars, and question why colonists would have spent so much effort quarrying and hauling stones when trees were abundant. While Native American construction of the chambers has been generally discounted due to lack of archaeological or ethnological evidence, some researchers believe they were built by American Indians or their ancient ancestors, citing the advanced stone and dirt constructions of other indigenous cultures like the Adena and Mississippian. Authors James Maver and Byron Dix conducted a 7-year investigation into New England's stone sites, concluding that they played a role in celestial observation and shamanic ritual, with many sites connecting to form networks stretching for hundreds of miles. The Nolambika Project, a volunteer group active for over 40 years, supports the idea that the chambers were built by Native Americans, aiming to promote a more accurate depiction of their history in New England and protect sacred sites. The mystery surrounding these stone structures remains, with speculation continuing about their true origins and purpose. In the early 1950s, a gigantic stone head was uncovered deep in the jungles of Guatemala, attracting immediate attention due to its peculiar Caucasian characteristics that did not correspond to any pre-Hispanic races native to the Americas. The discovery was first made public in 1987 when Dr. Oscar Rafael Padilla Lara received a photograph of the head along with a description stating it was found somewhere in the jungles of Guatemala, and that the photo was taken in the 1950s by the landowner. The photo and story were published in a small article by explorer and author David Hatcher Childress, who traced Dr. Padilla and learned that the Beener family owned the property where the stone head was discovered, located 10 kilometers from the small village of La Democracia in southern Guatemala. However, when Dr. Padilla reached the site, he found that the stone head had been destroyed by anti-government rebels about 10 years prior, with the eyes, nose, and mouth completely gone, leading to the story's quick death. The story resurfaced when filmmakers of Revelations of the Mayans 2012 and beyond used the photograph to claim that extraterrestrials had made contact with past civilizations, publishing a document by Guatemalan archaeologist Hector A. Magia, stating that the monument was made by an extraordinary and superior civilization with no record of its existence on the planet. However, this broadcast had the opposite effect, putting the story in the hands of a skeptical audience who believed it was just a promotional show. Despite this, there seems to be no evidence that the giant head didn't exist, that the original photo is not real, or that Dr. Padilla's account is inaccurate. The area where the stone head was reportedly found, La Democracia, is already famous for its stone heads created by the Olmec civilization, which flourished between 1400 and 400 BC. But the stone head in the 1950s photograph does not share the same features or style as the Olmec heads. Questions remain about whether the structure was just a head or if it housed a corpse beneath it, similar to the Easter Island statues, and whether it was connected to any other structures in the vicinity. Sadly, the attention surrounding the movie contributed to burying the subject even deeper into the pages of history, leaving the mystery of this enigmatic ancient structure unsolved. The stoned ape theory, proposed by American ethnobotanist and mystic Terence McKenna in his 1992 book Food of the Gods, claims that the transition from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens and the cognitive revolution was caused by the addition of psilocybin mushrooms, specifically Psilocybe cubensis, into the human diet around 100,000 years ago. McKenna argued that due to desertification in Africa, humans retreated to shrinking tropical forests and followed cattle herds, detecting Psilocybe cubensis mushrooms growing in cow pats and incorporating them into their diet. According to McKenna, access to and ingestion of these mushrooms provided an evolutionary advantage to humans' omnivorous hunter-gatherer ancestors and sparked humanity's first religious impulse. He believed that psilocybin mushrooms were the, quote, evolutionary catalyst from which language, imagination, the arts, religion, philosophy, science, and all of human culture sprang. To support his claim, McKenna cited studies from psychopharmacologist Roland L. Fisher, suggesting that psychedelics would have improved visual acuity, libido, attention, energy, social bonding, and language development in early humans. Some proponents of the theory argue that DMT-containing substances like ayahuasca, rather than psilocybin mushrooms, may have been responsible for the cognitive revolution, citing ayahuasca's ability to increase trait openness, interest in abstract ideas, and visual acuity. However, the stoned ape theory has been widely criticized by the scientific community, who label it as overly speculative and misrepresentative of Fisher's studies. Critics also point to groups like the Aztecs and Amazonian tribes, whose usage of psychedelic substances does not reflect the evolutionary advantages McKenna argued would emerge from using psilocybin-containing substances. Despite the controversy surrounding the theory, it remains an intriguing and thought-provoking hypothesis about the potential role of psychedelics in human evolution and the development of human culture. Stonehenge, a prehistoric megalithic structure on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England, consists of an outer ring of vertical sarsen standing stones, each around 13 feet high, 7 feet wide, and weighing around 25 tons, topped by connecting horizontal lintel stones. Inside the outer ring is a ring of smaller blue stones, and within that are freestanding trilithons, 2 bulkier vertical sarsens joined by 1 lintel. The whole monument, now ruinous, is aligned towards the sunrise on the summer solstice and sunset on the winter solstice. Archaeologists believe Stonehenge was constructed in several phases from around 3100 BC to 1600 BC, with the surrounding circular earth bank and ditch constituting the earliest phase, dated to about 3100 BC. The bluestones, originating from the Preseli Hills in Wales, were given their current positions between 2400 and 2200 BC, although they may have been at the site as early as 3000 BC. The large sarsen stones, brought from West Woods, Wiltshire, were erected between 2600 and 2400 BC. Stonehenge could have been a burial ground from its earliest beginnings, with deposits containing human bone dating from as early as 3000 BC. The monument's purpose remains a mystery, with theories ranging from its use as an astronomical observatory, a religious site, a place of healing, or a symbol of peace and unity. The builders of Stonehenge were Neolithic farmers originating from Anatolia, who brought agriculture to Europe, and were closely related to Iberian and Central European early and Middle Neolithic populations. The Beaker people, who arrived around 2500 BC, likely incorporated the henge structures into their belief system, and more than 90% of Britain's Neolithic gene pool was replaced with their arrival. Throughout history, Stonehenge has been a source of fascination and speculation, with folklore and legends surrounding its origins and purpose, such as the story of the wizard Merlin bringing the stones from Ireland. In the 20th century, Stonehenge became a site of religious significance for adherents of neo-paganism and New Age beliefs, particularly neo-Druids, leading to the establishment of the Stonehenge Free Festival and subsequent controversies over access and management of the site. Dutch archaeologists have unearthed a 4,000-year-old religious site, nicknamed the Stonehenge of the Netherlands, which includes a burial mound that served as a solar calendar. The mound, containing the remains of about 60 men, women, and children, had passages through which the sun shone directly on the longest and shortest days of the year. This is the first time a site like this has been discovered in the Netherlands, and it was found in the small village of Tiel, about 19 miles southeast of Utrecht. The archaeologists located 3 burial mounds on the excavations, with the main mound being about 20 meters in diameter and its passages lined up to serve as a solar calendar, which people used to determine important moments, including festival and harvest days. The 3 mounds were used as burial sites for about 800 years. A fascinating discovery was a single glass bead inside a grave, which originated in Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, having traveled a distance of some 5,000 kilometers 4 millennia ago. Glass was not made in the Netherlands at that time, so the bead must have been a spectacular item, as it was an unknown material to the people then. The Mesopotamian bead may have been around for a long time before eventually ending up in the area around Tiel, called the Betuwe in Dutch, and things were already being exchanged in those times. The discovery of this religious site sheds light on the spiritual practices and trade connections of the people who lived in the Netherlands 4,000 years ago, providing a glimpse into their fascinating history. Some individuals claim to have the ability to turn streetlights or outside security lights on or off when passing near them, a phenomenon known as streetlight interference, SLI, or high voltage syndrome. Proponents of SLI, such as author Hilary Evans, who coined the term, allege that they experience this effect regularly with specific lamps and more frequently than chance would explain. Evans' 1993 book, The SLI Effect, proposes that the phenomenon is inconsistent with our current understanding of human interaction with the physical world. Some believers attribute SLI to static electricity or an unknown energy emitted by the human body, while others claim it is caused by individuals possessing psychic or psychokinetic abilities. However, skeptics argue that SLI claims are examples of correlation not implying causation or confirmation bias, as people are more likely to notice when a nearby light turns on or off than one at a distance or in a steady state. The phenomenon is further compounded by a failure mode of high-pressure sodium streetlights known as cycling, where the lights turn off and on more frequently at the end of their life cycle. A General Electric engineer summarized SLI as a combination of coincidence and wishful thinking, and author Massimo Polidoro notes that a paranormal explanation is the least likely possibility. Despite the claims of proponents, SLI has never been demonstrated to occur in a scientific experiment, and those who claim the ability have been found unable to reproduce the effect on demand. A succubus is a female demon or supernatural entity believed to appear in dreams to seduce men through sexual activity, with the male equivalent being an incubus. while anthropologists and psychologists often attribute the explanation of succubi and incubi to supernatural explanations for sleep paralysis, hypnagogic, and hypnopompic hallucinations. The phenomenon is rarely described in psychiatric literature and is more identified as a cultural belief in different religions. The term succubus was first used in the late 14th century, derived from the Latin word succuba, meaning to lie beneath, and is believed to have descended from the ancient figure of Lilith, the first wife of Adam. Folklore descriptions suggest that succubi can take the form of beautiful young girls, with deformities like bird-like claws or serpentine tails, and that repeated sexual activity with them can lead to deterioration in physical and mental health, or even death. Many cultures have analogous sex demons as part of their mythology, such as jinns in Arabic culture, the Alp in Teutonic or German folklore, Popobawa in Zanzibar, Lidurk in Hungary, Mara or Mare in Swedish folklore, and Karabasan in Turkish culture. In India, the succubus is referred to as Yakshini, attendees of the Hindu god of wealth, Kubera, who are considered guardians of hidden treasure and are believed to provide gratification to the senses with their extreme beauty and power to delight the body. The Sumerian king list, SKL, is an ancient literary composition written in Sumerian, likely created and redacted to legitimize the claims to power of various city-states and kingdoms in southern Mesopotamia during the late 3rd and early 2nd millennium BC. It does so by repetitively listing Sumerian cities, the kings that ruled there, and the lengths of their reigns, which often span thousands of years in the early part of the list. The SKL is preserved in several versions, mostly dating to the Old Babylonian period, but the oldest version dates back to the Ur-3 period. The sources differ in their exact contents due to copying errors and deliberate editorial decisions to change the text to fit current needs. In its best-known version, as recorded on the Weld-Blundell Prism, the SKL begins with antediluvian kings who ruled before a flood swept over the land, after which kingship went to Kish, and ends with a dynasty from Isin. Although the SKL was once considered an invaluable source for reconstructing the political history of early dynastic Mesopotamia, recent research has indicated that its use is fraught with difficulties and should only be used with caution, if at all, due to its nature as a political, ideological text, its long redactional history, and the fact that only 7 pre-Sargonic kings listed have been attested in contemporary early dynastic inscriptions. The pre-Sargonic part of the SKL must be considered fictional, with many rulers being purely fictional or mythological characters assigned reigns of hundreds of years. However, the SKL becomes much more reliable starting with the Akkadian rulers, especially for the Ur-3 and Isin dynasties, as most kings are attested in other contemporaneous documents, and their reigns are more in line with what can be established from other sources. While the SKL has little value for studying early dynastic Mesopotamia, it remains an important document for understanding how old Babylonian kings and scribes viewed their history, perceived the concept of kingship, and potentially used it to further their own goals.